Took you to paradise, foreign trips and live very nice. Would've took you to Ocean Springs, could've bought you all kinds of things. But the world is over now, might as well come over now. Might as well let me love you down. When nature calls and the sirens sound, the problem is you won't like it. I can read your mind, I know all your secrets. They ain't tell you I'm a psychic. Say we need to make love, baby, we ain't died yet. Remember you was too busy running around, but the city's locked down. Tickets mad cheap and I booked a flight, and I'm back in town. See, the world is over now, might as well come over now. Might as well let me love you down. When nature calls and the sirens sound, the problem is you won't like it. I can read your mind, I know all your secrets. They ain't tell you I'm a psychic. See, we need to make love, baby, we ain't died yet. We ain't died yet. So we need to make love, love.
It's a celebration, worldwide party, get together across the nation. Heard on the stations, we about to be replaced with robots from the space station. No more work, every day's a vacation. One tasting, it's been no work, now it's time for play. No more waiting. They say love's for the taking, so take it. Damn, it feels good to be a king, knowing I can have anything that I wanted. It feels good to be alive. Pass the Dutchie to the left, let's get high. It's a coronation, a king's crown represents the whole nation. Heard on the station, reputation's waning. My sons is lacking training, they the gods in the making. Brighter days ahead, let us not forget what the master said. That God lives within, beauty of the soul. Know within your whole, it'll never let you go. Once you see it, then you know, then you know. Damn, it feels good to be a king, knowing I can have anything that I wanted. It feels good to be alive. Pass the Dutchie to the left, let's get high. It's a coronation, it's a king's crown, represents the whole nation. My sons is lacking draining, they the gods in the making. They the gods in the making. It's a celebration, worldwide party, get together across the nation. They say lives for the taking, they say lives for the taking, so take it, so take it, so take it, so take it.
Peace to the family. Let me, in my little cubby hole, let me get this situated so it don't block the view. Peace to the family. Hope everybody is doing well out there in the world. Trying to get my bearings together. How's everybody doing this week? Peace to everybody out there on the flow. What is on the flow? Why do motherfuckers want to always get down on the flow? And we back. People want to get down on the flow. People want to shake their ass on the flow. Everything happens on the flow. Like, get your ass up off the flow. But anyways, grand afternoon to the family. It is the Hood Mystic, representing www.hoodmystic.com, here for another one. If y'all can hear me out there, just give me a thumbs up. Thumbs down if y'all can't hear me. Thumbs up if I sound crazy and y'all can hear me at the same time. But I just want to make sure that I'm coming across clear, because at the same time, y'all get too relaxed and y'all don't be paying attention no damn way. So shout out to y'all. Definitely a time to get your spark up. You know, it's Monday. Time to get your bearings in order. Got a whole week set out before you. And the idea is to understand and bring yourself into some form of alignment. I don't have a long drawn out conversation for y'all today, mainly because astrologically, it's not a lot going on in the cosmos, right? It's not a lot of transits popping off. We got a waning moon. So 10 times out of 10, people get relaxed, lackadaisical, tune back into their melancholy. We gonna get you up out of that energy. Y'all have a gift, y'all have an ability, y'all having a skill, and 10 times out of 10, it don't have nothing to do with what you think it is. 10 times out of 10, your skill, your special ability is found in tuning into your higher self. The title of this video is Everyone is a Healer, Even You. That's the subtitle, right? It's very, very, very important that we look at life from a perspective very simply. If you cut yourself open, for the most of us, some of us have disorders and diseases and things of that nature where this doesn't ring true. And they have to be like Samuel L. Jackson in the M. Night Shyamalan movie where he couldn't get touched, right? He had to stay isolated because if somebody moved the wrong way, his arm would break. For the most part, we got calcium and all types of nutrients and microbiologies that if we get cut open, our body initially starts to bleed and clot and then begins to heal itself with no extra inference and energy from us. However, we can pick at the scab, family, right? You know what it's like to pick at the scab? What you doing when you picking at the scab? You're not allowing it to heal. So this is a clear and succinct message based upon study. I invite everybody to, come through. You feel me? Pull up. You feel me? The engagement drop is here. We about to start doing live videos. We about to start doing a whole bunch of cool shit. We got our own little social media that we just kind of been bubbling on. People been there. Get your ride or dies, but come on, pull up. You can read the article in full detail. I'm trying to find it. Yes, the weekly Astro Report. Y'all ain't gonna be able to see it. I said y'all ain't gonna be able to see it until I do something like this. I just don't understand why it does that all the time. It really pisses me off, but I digress. Powerful healing energy. Recenter, recalibrate. Root lock. Ashe. All right. Get into this article, family. Join the mystery school. Get into what other people are talking about. We got people doing artwork, and I'm speaking more or less to you. What can you contribute to the mystery school? What articles, what services? We building up an audience. We building up people that's into this type of stuff. The people on your Instagram, they trying to get flat tummy tees, BBLs, right? They ain't trying to get into none of this type of stuff. So if you're into it, if you like it, please join us at the mystery school. Today we will be talking about, without further ado, I break up these conversations. I talk about astrology stuff, and then I talk about things that I really just want to talk about to start off the conversation. Luckily for you, that's a combination. What I really want to talk about this week to start off the astrology is some astrology, okay? We're going to talk about Jupiter conjunct the fixed star Delphinus. All right, we're going to deep dive astrological Atlas, Atlantis in a quick deep dive of Jupiter conjunct the constellation of Delphinus, or the dolphin. Okay, we'll be talking about the sun entering Scorpio energy with the fixed stars of Crab and Dashuba. As you see, these stars present what it is to be a gateway or a crown, depending on how you look at it, and really understanding what this means cosmologically and relating it to our human understanding, right? Because we exist in both areas. You got to pay your bills on Saturday, because Saturday is the 1st or something like that. It's about to be the 1st real soon, so you're going to have to pay your bills on one level, but at a certain level, you got your ancestors giving you divine spiritual knowledge. And me, I'm trying to balance that for you. Speaking of balance, I'm getting better at these segues, y'all. Mars will be in the constellation of Libra. We can bear witness to where Mars is at in the skies, as opposed to looking at a man-made chart. What I'm doing now, I'm not dealing with charts at all. I deal with charts at a certain level, but I feel like charts really fuck people's minds up and people's heads up. So what I do is look at the stars and where they're at based upon my telescopic app, Star Walk. I pay like $2.99 a month for it. Something crazy like that. Not $299. That's $2.99 to be exact, to get the exact placements of the planets in the constellations. And I can study all of the constellations, all of the fixed stars within my app. And I don't have to necessarily rely on a bullshit ass chart that is only going to tell me half of the story. I'm trying to teach you all how to become astrologers and astronomers so you can understand this shit on your own. We could utilize charts if to get a basic understanding, but as an astrologer, I'm just showing y'all a progressed way to begin to look at the charts, to study the mythology, study the cosmology, and then relate it to your personal life, maybe your personal life or the personal lives of the people around you. Let me see what's going on. Looks good on my end. So, there we go. Give me 1 second. Let me check something out real quick. And maybe she was talking about Frozen, the Disney movie, and not my computer being frozen. I'm a little OD paranoid when it comes to things like that, family. You gotta just know that. You say Frozen, I'm like, what's wrong? YouTube doing that thing that it like to do. So what we're going to talk about is in reference to cosmology, the mythology, the story. We will talk about Moon traversing Gemini this week, because this is the inner world right here. This is the relationship to the soul. A lot of y'all got success in areas of life, but when it comes to the inner successes and having a sense of understanding of the power of your soul, that is none the wiser to you. When I say the power of your soul, let me be clear. You have an ability to heal yourself and heal others. And this is why I bring you here for these conversations every week, to ignite the energy within yourself to heal yourself. And the products that I have and the things that I talk about, the things that my wife talk about, is meant to specifically, without a shadow of a doubt, bring you into some form of healing by specifically connecting to your higher self. Now, I can say this till I'm blue in the face, but it'll go in one ear and out the other, because people really do feel like there's something extrinsic, external. It could be a relationship, it could be a degree. Something external is going to validate their inner world, and then just maybe they'll begin to deal with their inner world. But the reality of a psychologically sound person is that that person is usually found in a fucking nursing home, right? So I don't want, my audience is not the nursing home crowd. We got live action adults out here in these streets that don't give a fuck about their soul. So as Moon traverses through Gemini and you watch other people suffer from mental disorders, because you tuned in and tapped into the Hood Mystic weekly astrology report and you took notes, you didn't passively listen, you tuned in and you tapped in and you dealt with your fucking mind this week. You didn't let your mind beat your ass. Now we can point at everybody on social media losing their shit, right? And you can't never say Hood Mystic didn't tell you so, right? Week in, week out, we bear witness that the stars never lie. It's only that people do, right? And yeah, so get your mind right. Finishing up, we'll be talking about the Saturn and Capricorn energy sextile in Chiron, the asteroid, which is located in the energy of Pisces, which brings us, doubling down in each and every planetary astronomical alignment that's happening this week is a clear message that you are a healer, or everyone is a healer, including you, right? But in order to tap into your healing energy, you have to understand that you got to get your chakras in order, family. I don't care. You are not above doing your chakras. You are not above balancing your root chakra, balancing your adrenal glands, understanding your digestion, understanding compassion, speaking your truth, activating your third eye, operating from the pituitary gland, your master gland, balancing your homeostasis. You are not above that. So when you stress the hell out, and I'm sitting here blue in the face, talking about balance your chakras, do your chakra work. Now when shit hit the fan, y'all looking at me like I'm the bad guy. When I've been telling y'all all year, inner world creates the outer world. Still going for what you go for. Trying to make money. Now your job telling you, guess what? See this little needle? I want you to stick this in your ass. Right? But you was the one that was trying to get money, as opposed to activating your higher self, activating your intuition, balancing out your hormones. So go to Columbian Exchange. This is what I'm going to do for y'all. Go to Columbian Exchange, sign up for the email list, because it's going to be an email drop that's coming out this week. I'm giving out a crazy deal on this goddamn book. The reason that I'm giving this crazy ass deal for this book is because y'all act like y'all not supposed to do chakra work. And honestly, family, you're going to get a chakra book that's going to confuse the fuck out of you on the process. You're going to get a big ass chakra book, right? And it's going to tell you a whole bunch of useless ass information, and you're going to be still confused. My book is 200 and some pages, and it's a orderly, fuck all that random schizophrenic energy. I just do what I want to do. See, listen, if you're the type of person that do what you want to do when you want to do it, you are destructive. Because ain't nothing built in society based upon a person doing what they want to do. It's based upon architecture, foremen, construction workers, schematics. You better show up here at 5 o'clock in the morning on site, start to do this goddamn work. And we are talking about building your inner world, building your connection to your soul, because the message is clear, family. The message is very clear. Everyone is a healer. Okay? And without further ado, my wife, for the ladies out there, I just be messing with y'all. I be posting shit on Facebook and Instagram. Motherfuckers be mad at me. Who do you think you are? Talking about women like this. I'll be like, my wife don't be on Facebook, so I just be spreading the word for her shit. I be just trying to, you understand? I don't be really knowing what the hell I be talking about. I just take my cues from my wife. I've been telling y'all that from the beginning. My wife run the show. I'm just the mouthpiece. I'm just the talk piece. I just be, used to, I just be talking shit all the time. I'm a shit talker, right? I must have been a past life of a shit talker, right? Of some sort. However, man, Womb is available at Columbian Exchange. Crazy deal coming with that very soon. My wife is not done writing books, y'all. As opposed to cooking and doing all of the things that she does just for life, for herself and for others, she's still managing time to curate a free ebook centered on women understanding the womb. So let me detail this book. This was the first book she gave me. It just had too much information. It was like overload, right? And I was like, babe, you're gonna have to warm them up. Let's give them a journal, get them loosened up to the idea of themselves, and then drop it on them after they get the journal, start getting acclimated and aware of themselves. Now, it's going to be a free ebook, but I suggest you get the paperback because it's going to be a must-have if you are a young guy, older guy who know women, in a relationship with a woman, or if you have a daughter that is, progressing in age. She could have already had her period. Ain't nobody talking to her about her ovulation cycle, her luteal phases, and the hormones associated with her ovulation, if they're even talking about her menstruation at all. So the post that I posted that got people pissed off is that I was talking about ovulation, right? But motherfuckers skipped over the ovulation, right? I don't know why people just skip over ovulation and get right back into menstruation when that's just one phase of the process. It's 3 other crucial phases of the process that will tap into the menstruation, make that menstruation easier. And this is just, talking to men in relationships with women, whether that's their daughter, girlfriend, mama. It affects everybody in the household. So to be mindful of it is not, women gonna ostracize you. My wife said they ain't gonna never accept no information coming from you. I said, man, I'm on Fiverr looking for white boy voiceovers. Sooner or later, Astro Weekly Report is going to be done by a white boy voiceover if I'm really serious about getting my point across, but I digress. ColumbianExchange.com. You can get all of these books and more, right? Please tap in, because ultimately, this is how me and my wife are feeding our 4 big-ass children, right? And to accompany that, I don't know, maybe left, maybe over here, possibly over there, is a fucking Cash App little thing. $2, $20, $200. What is this broadcast worth to you? Is it worth nothing? Then don't give me nothing. I'm just playing. I mean, it does look beautiful up there. Let me see if it's up there. Oh, it's not even up there. Lordy. Let me get myself right. Okay. So right there. Donations, requests, and shout outs. You might want a specific video for me to do. You might want me to cover something. You might just want me to say, hey Felicia, what your ass up to? What up, Jermaine? Whatever. I mean, I said I'll shout your ass out. You might have a love letter that you want to send out to your baby girl, want me to read it to her. Throw some money in my goddamn Cash App. You feel me? Because none of this shit is easy to do. I tell you that. I mean, literally been working on this presentation and blog post for the past 48 hours. With that being said, I hope you enjoy it. I do hope you enjoyed this presentation. So, unbeknownst to us, Jupiter was conjunct the fixed star Delphinus, or the constellation Delphinus. Now, Delphinus is not on the ecliptic, but it still can influence the Earth. All of the planets and constellations and all of the star systems, believe it or not, affect us all in this present moment. There are some energies that go against you. Let's just look at it in the form of like noxious gas, right? It needs being energies. And then let's look at it as like carbon dioxide. And if a noxious gas get in contact with a carbon dioxide, the carbon dioxide will defeat that noxious gas, or the noxious gas will win, and now the environment will become toxic. And this toxic energy will make it hard for you to live, hard for you to breathe. But the ancient mind viewed certain energies such as gases and electromagnetism as entities, as sorceries and spells and witchcrafts, and there's these wars and these understandings and cosmologies. And what I'm saying is, sometimes people will go to war with each other in the ancient mind, and the people from the outside looking in like, why is they even going through this, right? What is it? But we don't never understand that esoterically in the cosmos is a war being played out. It's a suppression that's being taken place. And when you talk about suppression, the truth is at the seventh story, right? What tends to happen with the people, especially the people in America, the black people in America, the melanated people in America, the African Americans in America, they get chopped down at the first floor. So when we begin to smell the truth, we can't even begin to smell the truth or taste the truth or even understand the truth, because soon as we do something basic like build generational wealth, we put a target on our back. And the reason why is because we represent something that's beyond wealth. So a simple understanding of our spiritual energy, it easily brings us to a point of wealth, success, magnetism. Why? Because everyone is a healer. But sometimes we imagine that the things that we have externally are the justifications for our inner healing abundance. So my job, my goal, my gift is that I see your abundance right now in this moment, whether you see it or not. And the most important thing for you to do is to tune into your abundance, as opposed to looking for justifiers and qualifiers and things outside of you that will make you feel as if you're connected to your soul, when the fact is that feeling is not going to come from the outside in, it's going to come from the inside out. So what we're talking about is the deep understanding. Last week I said Jupiter is coming with a sword, but that sword is double. A sword has two sides to it, right? Double-edged sword, double-edged blade, something to that effect, right? It'll cut on one side and it'll cut on the other side. One side is that life has to be taken for us to wake up. The other side is that when that life is taken, that energy is able to connect with this cosmology and open up a different understanding, a wider understanding. So sacrifice sucks because somebody dies. But in ancient times, sacrifice is normal because it opens up a connection cosmologically and astrologically. Why is this so? Because no one ever really dies. Why? Because energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transferred. And so when people read these types of things, say the law of thermodynamics, which states the third law, which states that energy cannot be destroyed nor created. Once again, I might be all cap, so let's just look this up. Law of thermodynamics, third law. The third law of thermodynamics states as follows regarding the properties of closed system of thermodynamic equilibrium. The entropy of a system approaches a constant value as its temperature approaches absolute zero. The constant value is called the residual entropy of a system. So please speak English to me, somebody, right? Somebody talk to me. Okay, not the third law, the first law. And it's the first law, I thought it was the third, it was the first. I stand corrected. The first law of thermodynamics, also known as the law of the conservation of energy, states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Energy can only be transferred or changed from one form to another. Let's make sure you guys can see that. Before we start crying all the time when somebody transitions, and trust me, death is sad. I'll be the first one to say death isn't sad. But I also have to understand within myself as I do study, if I, start to learn knowledge of self and deal with my own life, it's basically laid out that this is a law that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only can be transferred or changed from one form to another. So let's talk. Turning on a light would seem to produce energy. However, it is electrical energy that is converted. So that electrical energy is what is called in the potential phase of its development. And our potential phase would be our star body, our kinetic phase of electrical energy, which would be our 0 to some 90, 100 years of life. Where we have kinetic energy, we have the Mars aspect of our lives, and this is what's coming online. The Martian aspect of our life, where we are connected to source, but we are also in this body. This is an amazing event that is taking place called your life. How do you spend it, right? How do you understand it? My thing is, it's time to get deep. It's time to channel our Atlantean truth. Now, if you are in a different country and you never been to America, you don't got family in America, you're not rooted in America, then you might not understand. See, they tried to tell us that our roots of the modern melanated man and woman, our roots were in Africa, and they gave us scientific tests and understandings. Now, when we do other scientific tests, because let's talk about science. Science is not a truth. Science is an investigation. And once you come up with an investigation, you might have a hypothesis, you might have a law, you might have an understanding. But if I come up with something different, then that science has moved away. The same thing as the Clovis Indians, right? Y'all ever heard of the Clovis Indians? And this was the normal shit, right? This is what people thought. Clovis culture. The Clovis culture, right? And this is all made up, right? But this was a law. Clovis culture is a prehistoric Palo-American culture named for its distinct tools found in Mexico. Bloom, bloom, bloom. Clovis first. Known as Clovis first, the predominant hypothesis. Y'all see that? Hypothesis, not the predominant truth, right? So whoever decided that Clovis was the first people in America came up through this through a hypothesis, meaning that they didn't contact every person in America and ask them their history, y'all. Let's be clear, right? They told people what it was through this thing called science. But when you understand the terminology or the sciences of it, they gonna tell you that we don't really know what we saying. We hypothesizing about it, right? Among archaeologists in the later half of the 20th century had been the people associated with the Clovis culture were the first inhabitants of America. So we went to school. You got people who got PhDs, right? Master's degrees. Would bear witness to the lie that the Clovis culture was the first inhabitants of America and they would be Atlanteans. But they wouldn't recognize themselves as Atlanteans. They would recognize themselves as African Americans, because the same people who told you that the Clovis people was the first people in America also told you that they sent you over here on ships. See how that worked? But see how I'm gonna tell you how it works more. The hypothesis came to be challenged. Ashe, because our ancestors way stronger than a person coming through with a predominant hypothesis. We must challenge what we think we know in order to bring about our healing, bring about our deep understanding of life and life as it stands. In the first part of this, I know they paying you good money. I know they giving you a nice little check every 2 weeks. But if you stand on a lie, you stand on a lie. Your inner world is going to reflect that lie that you stand on. And the main lie that they try to tell melanated people is that they are in fact African Americans. As long, I promise you, they will give you the biggest fucking check in the world. They'll give you the nicest mansion. You cannot say that we always were here. You can never say that we were always here, could you? They will laugh you out the building. You're crazy. The hypothesis came to be challenged by studies suggesting a pre-Clovis human occupation of the Americas. In 2011, following the excavation of an occupation site at Buttermilk Creek, Texas, a prominent group of scientists claimed to have definitely established the existence of an occupation older than Clovis. So, back to this. We're going to explain this, but y'all gonna have to give me a minute. Gonna have to give me a minute to explain this. Y'all all right? And let me say thank you to Lady D Supreme Freight for the super chat. November Mage, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate y'all love and support and donations. Thank you. In astrology, Delphinius is like Saturn and Mars. So our restrictive nature and our active nature, meaning that this nature of this energy, if you have a planet conjunct it or energy surrounding it, you have to be mindful. And this is a theme throughout the astrology. These stars, these fixed stars, do not play. And you have to be active on how you order your life. You can look at life externally and manifest a lot externally, but it won't generate the joy of the soul within. Right? It'll only get you but so far. And because of this, I want to say negative things tend to happen, but I don't want to say that, but it just generally seems to happen. And so the soul can be rather ruthless if you don't pay attention to it. Most men can understand the ruthlessness of the soul when you don't tune into it, because you dealing with bullshit for real. I know some women deal with it too, But 10 times out of 10, you don't really have to tune in and tap into your soul all the time, especially if you look halfway decent. Especially if you can manipulate a system or got money, so you tend to use money, good looks to kind of sidestep the system a little bit, right? We all do it because we don't understand the power of the soul. Okay? So since we don't understand the nature of Saturn, which is order, Mars is so fucked up sometimes because there's so much centered in our personal decisions. And just think about your personal decisions when you was 18. Now think about your personal decisions when you was 30. 10 times out of 10 when you 50 and you look back on the decisions you made when you was 30, you're going to be looking like, what the fuck was I thinking about? What was truly wrong with me? This is the nature of Mars. The nature of Mars is saying whatever I do is the right thing to do. And if you don't agree with it, if something happens wrong, something is wrong with you. Some people might listen to my content and something bad happens to them. They might view it because they was listening to my podcast. Right? In reference to the information not being nothing about me, but really trying to understand developing a deep relationship with your soul. And not only a deep relationship with your soul, but then listening to what your soul tells you to do and then acting on that. Because you can have a very high energy of your soul. Never listen to it. And since your soul knows that energy never dies and you can come back in another body, your soul will take you out. Just because you don't get it and you don't understand. And I don't know who knows or doesn't know. But sometimes you have to stop for a second and really, really, really stop giving a fuck about what you got and what you don't got. For a second. Because when we start talking about Atlantis, y'all not going to understand the implications of Atlantis because you're too busy in the Matrix. You're too busy getting the money, getting the coin, and the whole time the ancestors is trying to talk to you. The whole time the answers is telling you that the material world is not going to solve your problems. Helping people get money is not going to solve your problems. Making money is not going to solve your problems. What we're attempting to show people with Saturn and Capricorn is how to connect with your higher self as if it is a skill that you don't understand. And I use that word in verbiage because sometimes people imagine that this is something that either doesn't apply to them or they can't do it or just don't matter because they are. Let's show you. I can show you better than I can tell you. Because people think that they are just simply this era. Your life, your personal decisions, your life, your personal decisions, your life, your personal decisions. But in fact, you have this whole circle that you can tune in and tap in, which represents the source of all creation. Which once you figure that part out, then that leads to your direction. But most people completely forego the source of all creation. Either they don't believe they have access to it, or they just don't give a fuck. It just depends. So we got two distinct energies that's dealing with sacrifice. You have Young Dolph, you have Chadwick Boseman, and they're all speaking to a specific energy of Atlantis. And let me try to. So you have Delphin and Poseidon. Delphin was a dolphin-shaped sea daemon in the service of the god Poseidon. Okay, let me just do this. Atlas and Poseidon. In Greek mythology, Atlas is a titan condemned to hold up the heavens or sky for eternity after the Titanomachy. Atlas also plays a role in the myths of two of the greatest heroes, blue, bloom, blah, blah. That's not what I'm trying to get to. Poseidon. Anyway, the Atlantic Ocean is derived from the Sea of Atlas. The name Atlantis, mentioned in Plato's Timaeus dialogue, derives from Atlantis Nissos, literally meaning Atlas's island. So the king of Atlantis is named Atlas. Trying to find the facts of he being the son of Poseidon, but maybe they won't tell me. Maybe I'm making it all up. King of Atlantis. According to Plato, the first king of Atlantis was also called Atlas, but that Atlas was a son of Poseidon and mortal woman Cleito. Boom. You could also look at Atlas as being the king of Mauritania, which would be the king of the Moors, and okay collection of maps to be called an atlas. So even a book of maps is called the Atlas, devoted to the book to the king of Mauritania. But another part, Atlas became associated with Northwest Africa over time. Now, you look at a map, understand that the whole world is Africa, because Africa don't mean that country or that continent. Africa means land. All historians agree that it was the Roman use of the term Africa for parts of Tunisia and northern Algeria, which ultimately, almost 2,000 years later, gave the continent its name. Some believe that Africa is a contraction of Africa Terra, meaning the land of Afri. Now, if I didn't even know that constellation was existed, or people might have called the land Afri or something to that effect, but let's look at a map of the world. Let's look at an atlas of the world. And the whole world is Africa, right? But then you'd start talking about the northwest of Africa. What would be the northwest of Africa? This area would be the northwest of Africa, which would be United States, Canada, Mexico, Central America, and Alaska. This is the northwest of Africa because the Pangea, which was one thing, right, and then split away, you can look at the goddamn map and see that this was all one landmass, and then it kind of broke away and spread apart, which would be tied into Atlantis and things of that nature. But give me a second. So you got Young Dolph, sacrifice, his name Young Dolphin. When people transition, we give them cosmologies, we put them in the stars, we begin to understand them as a star frequency. But the energy of Delphin or the dolphin relates to the king of Poseidon, which relates to Titans and Atlas. Atlas being the king of Atlantis, but wait, there's more. Black Panther Wakanda Forever will be introducing a highly anticipated new location into the MCU with Atlantis. Fans have been eagerly awaiting one of the comic's first anti-heroes to join the MCU. With Namor, the Submariner. With his complex character will come the introduction of his underwater kingdom. But what will Black Panther Wakanda Forever be basing Atlantis on? Now, understand that this is some shit that I'm gonna just kind of freeball and freestyle on, so y'all just gonna have to trust me or don't. So these movies, Black Panther 1, Black Panther 2, are taking place in Atlanta. Okay? They shoot these movies in Atlanta for the most part. I'm sure they shoot all over the world, but one of their main centers and stages is in Atlanta. Maybe Tyler Perry Studios or whatever, right? Atlantis, right? That's one level. Now, this weekend, as you know, Drake, father from Memphis, but Drake live in Canada. Drake is assigned to the Draco constellation, or that energy. Now, Dolphin, of course, is tied into the Atlanteans and the original Atlantis people. The thing about Young Dolph is that he got 80% off of his music when most artists got 1 to 2%. So Young Dolph stunted differently. He had all types of cars, all types of money, all types of property, put all of his people on. He had one of the hottest artists in Memphis working on his record label, and they was all independent for the most part, which is kind of telling you that they different from everybody else. If the whole industry, all the people that you know is signed to record labels, you talking about Future, Drake signed to Epic and things of that nature, and Young Dolph, which ties to Drake because that's where Drake's father from, right? Young Dolph is an anomaly in all of hip hop. There is nobody like Young Dolph except possibly Rick Ross, but even Rick Ross was signed to Def Jam, or is signed to Def Jam, or some likes of it. So with this being said, he had to be taken out because if everybody in the game is making 10% off their albums or less, 10% or less, and then you have another person making 80% or more off their albums, he can't exist. So what tend to happen is that he got took out, but then that whole weekend in Atlanta, everybody was celebrating Future's birthday with the help of Drake. So I'm not saying that, birthday party, celebration, these two things don't have nothing to do with each other. But at the same time, if you see things from how I see it, you can see that they take out anybody that's independent, that particularly own their own masters. And another level of this game is the hit clause. When his master was wooing the Nereid Amphitrite and she fled, Delphin was sent to find the nymph and persuade her to agree to the marriage. For his service, Poseidon placed the dolphin amongst the stars as the constellation Delphinus. So Poseidon, Delphinus is all connected to some type of form of spy work, some type of intel to figure out how this earth really works. And when you figure out how this earth really works, you alert archons. And when you alert the archons, you don't really, if somebody want to get you, they going to get you. But of course, another level of that is that energy cannot be killed. Energy can't be destroyed. It can only change forms. So the energy is liver and more intense now because the flesh of the money, of the diamonds. You're talking about a highly advanced mound builder, leader, king energy that's tuned in and tapped into Delphin, Poseidon, and the archetype of it and the essence of it. He was a walking embodiment of a mound builder, right? I have to find him. It was this god with like gold teeth. And I meant to do research on it, but it just now hit me. I have to do more research on it. Yeah, I'm gonna do more research on that. So, let's keep going. Let's deal with Atlas. This fascination with people, life, and the cosmos is not a new fascination. It is a very ancient fascination that's tied into this race of people for which are connected to the cosmos. Y'all will call them black. I'm gonna call us Atlanteans because that's what we are. The game is to call us black, to call us from Africa, to say, we were shipped here on boats. Because when you start to get into the mound builder history of places of people from St. Louis, Memphis, Detroit, New Orleans, right? Cash Money Millionaires and No Limit and things of that nature, Nelly and things of that nature, just Detroit as a whole energy. You can understand the primordial nature, but the problem is that people take this energy and they just buy shit with it. That's the problem. They don't connect the inner with the outer. It's just all outer. Atlas was the primordial titan who supported the heavens. So Atlas would be Ophiuchus, Imhotep, things that we were talking about yesterday. Asclepius, the natural healing ability that exists within us. The king of the world, which what holds the world up is our natural ability to heal ourselves. Because even being attacked, even having all of these energy thrown at us, we still here having these conversations, and some of us aren't. That's how you know it's powerful. And a negative force. It's a negative force being thrown against us, but yet we still stand because we are tuned in and tapped into this primordial race of people. The only thing is, when we step on the first step, which would be wealth, you would be a target. So you see it in people like R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, and I'm not saying that these is good people, nor am I saying that they deserve negative treatment, because I don't never know full story, nor do I research in it, because at the same time, it's heavy campaigns to tear people down, and I know that it's way worse people that we not even talking about. What they call it is scapegoats and things of that nature. So the 12 Olympians led by Zeus overthrew the Titans in the Titanomachy, the War of the Titans. The Titans were then imprisoned in Tartarus. So the Titans is your Atlantean energy, which is simply a non-physical sense. So when they talk about Atlantes, they say at first we were energy and we existed without bodies. And then we said, you know what, it'd be cool if we brought our essence into the body. That way we could have sex, we could build buildings, we can play in the water, but we could still be our spiritual self in tune to the knowledge of all, the knowledge of one. The problem is, once our consciousness and our essence got into those bodies, what had happened was we forgot. So the Titans being imprisoned in Tartarus in the deepest part of the underworld is the facts of our spiritual nature being our unconscious and subconscious mind. Unconscious meaning that we're not conscious to it. Subconscious meaning that it is under our conscious mind. The Titans were then imprisoned in Tartarus, the deepest part of the underworld, with a few exceptions. Ashe for those few exceptions. Those who didn't fight with Kronos, those who didn't fight with time, right? Because at a certain point, when you understand it, you can't really fight it because you have these heavy allergic triggered reactions to the flesh, right? I talk all of this righteous shit, but I don't know how I'm going to act if you start twerking in front of me and shit like that. I might, my snake might just come out and I'm just like, I didn't even know this was here. Atlas was a part of the second generation of Titans. The children of Titan were also known as Titans, right? So no matter how imprisoned we are into Tartarus, no matter how many bubble-eye Benzes on 20-inch rims as we get, that will never be the truth. The truth is to go deep into the subconscious mind, right? And see what it is to see, right? And it's not going to be our external energy. It's going to be something much more powerful. So let's talk about this in a deeper aspect to why this is related to astrology. Political leaders can be seen as representatives of these heavenly rulers. The interest in the heavens led to the rise of astrology and astronomy. Did y'all see that though? Political leaders came to be seen as representatives of these heavenly rulers. So when you see a person and you can understand a person and you can feel a person's energy, it's best to start studying them from a cosmological archetypal level, because it might just save their ass. Because 10 times out of 10, you might just think that your name is Susie Sue from up the block. Whole time you could be the embodiment of the planet Venus walking. You could be the embodiment of the planet Neptune. You could be the embodiment of constellations and stars that astronomers have never even seen, because you from distant aspects of the galaxy. This is why it's so important, not just for our generation, but for ancient generations to understand this. Because the more that you understand astrology, the more that you understand astronomy, the more you understand yourself and where you are positioned in the world today. Okay? Because if we was in Australia, we'd be having a whole different language, understanding, so forth and so on. But we not in Australia right now. We in America talking that one talk. Okay? Talking that one talk. Like their predecessors, the first generation Titans and some of the second generation were associated with the heavenly bodies and celestial phenomena. So we came down here as heavenly bodies on earth, and we seen these humans, which were animals, in their mindset. Because when you look at a human being that's not in tune to his knowledge of self, they'll pull up to a McDonald's, get a double cheeseburger with extra cheese and bacon, and smash that bitch and drink it down with a Sprite. When you do the studies on what's in that bacon and hamburger and cheese and Sprite, there's no way you're going to eat that shit. But when you ain't tuned in and tapped into your soul, you don't even have a buffer. You just doing shit out here in these streets. But when you get a sense of knowledge of self, you start to move and act differently. And you might not have strength to deal with your motherfucking blocks and barriers at this point, but your soul do. So give yourself some fucking credit and know yourself. Quite simply. Greek mythology remains an important influence on the culture, arts, literature, Western civilization, which is why we're talking about it today. Though an ancient Greek religion based upon the tales have long since faded into obscurity, Greek myths remain the archetypical sources for much of Western fiction, poetry, film, and visual art. So when you see a rap star who's not signed to a record label that's successful, Houston, we have a problem. This was not his first attempt on his life. However, if this man knew who he was cosmologically, he would have moved different. However, he think that he just a man in Memphis from South Memphis. This is mama and his daddy, and this is his family. All of these things are true, but there's a deeper level for which we must go to get the true truth. And this true truth is found in healing and intuition. For which, if you are in tune with your healing and intuition, you will leave how you want to leave. You ain't going to leave, lacking, as the young people like to say. Greek mythology has played a pivotal role in development in modern studies, mythology, psychology, and philology, and exercises a role in business and marketing as well. It don't stop. Atlas is among the figures who have lent their names to a wide variety of products. So you got Atlas Truck Service, Atlas Maps, and Atlas everything, but Atlas, which would be our ability to understand that Atlantean disclosure, where these planets from constellations from all over the universe transcended on Earth and created a world for which they could live and congregate like a home base for celestials, where we come down, have a good time, create positive energies, love it up, and all of these things that we can't do holding down the universe. So for a large percentage of the time when we were down here, it was wonderful. And this is what we call the mound builder cultures of America. This is what we call Atlantis. Okay? Of course, me just saying that make me sound crazy. So let's just hop, skip, and jump and flip to Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce is a spiritualist who did readings, read astrology, did hypnosis, and helped people every day get in contact with themselves. He created a foundation called the ARE, which is still in business today. It's located in Virginia Beach. So if you are in the Virginia Beach area, suggest you pull up and tap in and say hello, say Hood Mystic sent you. He's really into this stuff. He's probably the only person that I know that's into it, and they'll probably welcome you in with open arms. This is just what I'm envisioning if you pull it up to the ARE, but I digress. Cayce indicated that the largest migration from Atlantis occurred just before 10,000 BC. The majority of these Atlantean survivors went to the northeastern coastal areas of North America and Canada and became the Iroquois. It should be recalled that Cayce also stated that not all Iroquois were Atlantean. The Atlanteans migrating to the Americas merged with the people already present in America by that time. The Atlanteans became the leaders of the tribes, okay? The Atlanteans became the leaders of the tribes. So look at the people in your area. I'm sure in every black neighborhood, there are leaders, and then there are followers. When you tap into your leadership, you start to do the shit that your soul tell you to do, and you listen, and you act. And to the people on the outside looking in, you bold. But you're not really bold, you just tuned in and tapped in. And Cayce's story makes it clear that the Atlanteans had serious disputes among themselves that were reflected in ongoing violent conflict. And I promise you that the Sons of Belial and the Law of the One groups are at war to this day. It's an energy that exists within all of us that exists to this day. And the reason that exists, because if we're in the abyss of materialism and none of us have understanding of this spiritual understanding of our soul, of Atlantis, we just believe in lies on top of lies, that we can't even have sit downs and talk downs about the root of our existence. Because this whole shit was, a lot of shit that happened in past lives in Atlantis came about of like sit down meetings. When people stopped sitting down and having meetings, they started beefing. And trust me, the reason that Europeans was able to come here and take over like they did is because Atlanteans can't get along. Now I tell you, imagine now, can black people get along today? Do we really get along for real? Or is it petty little beefs and petty little jealousies and things of that nature that exist between us? But yet and still, we can sit here all day and talk about how the white man is holding us down. We can sit here all day and talk about it, but at the same time, we'll be petty and jealous towards each other, but we not going to talk about that though, right? Except when it get violent, except when one of us die. But the whole time, niggas been beefing and talking shit, right? It wasn't like we was organizing and coming together and developing peace within us, because at the same time, people was talking about death and murder and killing black men on their raps. They wasn't talking about this understanding. So essentially, this reflection is always going to end up violently. And if you look at these rappers over these past couple of years, this is a thing now. Like I said in my live on IG, 20 years from now, you'd be rare to find people listening to hip hop. Because we'll start to understand like, oh, this music is killing people. These young kids is hypnotized by this shit. The combination of the video games and the music, they don't have no respect for life. Hey, Spotify, Apple Music, y'all can't listen to hip hop no more. It's not even going to be making no money in a couple of years because people going to be hip to it. We reversing this hypnosis. Even the small group of people that's listening to this live, if you can understand what I'm saying, you are doing your job. And as you do your job, you'll watch this earth change, because at the non-physical levels where we hold the most power, this is not a money game. This is confirmed by the Iroquois' ancient history that tells of constant battles resulting in distant displacements of entire tribes to ensure their survival. Perhaps the most astonishing confirmation of Casey's story of ancient America is the presence of haplogroup X. What is known as the X haplogroup first showed up in America perhaps 34,000 years ago, but its main entry occurred in 10,000 BC, matching Mr. Casey's time frame for the Atlantean migrations. The X group also appears to have shown up in ancient Iberia and the Bass about the same time, as well as the Gobi. These dates match Casey's story of the final two destructions of Atlantis, resulting in migration to these areas. So, in reference to Memphis, which is a major mound building site and a major Atlantean outpost, and some of the black people from North Memphis and South Memphis to this day have been living there for thousands of years. It's only the illusion that they tell you that they shipped you from Africa when probably they just shipped you from Detroit. How you gonna know as a little kid that you traveling from Africa to a different country? What's the difference from you getting on a boat when you're a little kid and traveling from Africa to America, or from Detroit to goddamn South Carolina along the Mississippi River? As a kid, you would just gonna believe everything that people tell you. You ain't gonna know no difference. But since we're here, let's look this up before we examine this little lie. And you can tell anybody, you can get any Harvard professor and tell me that I'm telling a lie to y'all today. So what we going to do? Reverse Underground Railroad. I don't know if y'all heard of this. I'm going to tell y'all if y'all didn't. The Reverse Underground Railroad is the name given sardonically to the pre-American Civil War practice of kidnapping in free states, not only fugitive slaves, but free blacks as well, transporting them to the slave states and selling them as slaves, or occasionally getting a reward for return of a fugitive, but transporting them to slave states and selling them as slaves. Those who used the term were pro-slavery and angry at an underground railroad, helping slaves escape. Also, the so-called Underground Railroad had incidents, but not a network, and its activities did not always take place in secret. Rescues of blacks being kidnapped were unusual. Let's read that again. Rescues of blacks being kidnapped were unusual. The three types of kidnapping methods were employed: physical abduction, entanglement. That ain't funny. We being serious. Kidnapping through trickery of free blacks and apprehension of fugitives. They keep throwing in this apprehension of fugitives, but I swear that's irrelevant to the fact the reverse railroad operated for 85 years. I haven't even been alive for 85 years, but just imagine every day. If you've been alive for as long as me, I've been alive for 37 years. So for 37 years, every single day, they just carrying black people from Detroit to New Orleans, from New Orleans to South Carolina, from South Carolina to Memphis, and just going back and forth. This is the Underground Railroad, okay? This is you getting sent from Africa, okay? Let's even go further. Since we here, King Philip's War, slaves. They don't ever talk about this, and I'm just trying to figure out why they don't talk about this. I ain't a crazy person. While the natives had been forced into slavery and servitude as early as 1636, it was not until King Philip's War that natives were enslaved in large numbers. They say natives were enslaved, not Africans were enslaved. When you look at this country, you got millions of people that you could specifically, intentionally enslave because you got the guns. Tell me the sense, okay? Tell me the sense, black people, of you going all the way to Africa on a wooden ship and getting like that don't even make sense if slavery is the point. But y'all done never heard about this though. Y'all heard about the slaves and the transatlantic slave trade and all that. But what about who was the natives that was forced into slavery? What happened in King Philip's War where the natives were enslaved in large numbers? From 1675 to 1676, the war paid Native American leader King Philip, also known as Metacom. Y'all talk about a metaverse, meta.com. What about the original Metacom, King Philip, right? During the war, the England colonies routinely, not every once in a while, routinely shipped Native Americans as slaves to Barbados, Bermuda, Jamaica, and Azores, Spain, and Tangier. You talk to them people, they say they got sent here from Africa. You ain't never going to hear them say, I got sent from America down here. My ancestors is American Atlanteans, Iroquois Indians, and things of that nature. No. Because motherfuckers is lying and we calling it truth. That's the issue. But let's talk about this. I seen this with my own eyes. And when I seen this with my own eyes, I said, man, they just lay it out right there. The first three words, family, the first Africans in Virginia, the first documented Africans. They tell you right there. To document somebody, because I documented an African in Virginia, does not make it the first African in Virginia. Do y'all understand that? Give me a thumbs up if y'all understand what I'm saying. If you can document in Africa, what about the Africans that wasn't documented? And because they weren't documented, does that mean that they didn't exist? And I thought Africa meant the whole world. It just meant the land. So the first documented people of the land in Virginia, right? On the White Lion. Oh, Lord Jesus. Thank you. Jesus came and spoke to us right now. He came and talked. He came through and said, here you go. Y'all see this? You can't tell me that Jesus ain't real. White Lion. What? Oh. Oh, you can't make it up. An English privateer based in the Netherlands, colonial officials traded food for these 20-odd Africans who've been captured from a Portuguese slave ship. Among present-day Hampton's earliest African residents were Anthony and Isabella. Their son, William, was the first child of African ancestry known to have been born in Virginia. Known to have been, that's a passive sentence. I write every day, and every day when you say shit like this, who knows it? When you say known to have been, you got to clarify that, right? To be a direct sentence. So if you say their son William was the first child of African ancestry that the world known to have been born in Virginia, then okay. But if you don't put nothing in front of that known, that's a passive sentence, and that just Now I gotta be imaginative into who possibly knows it. Many of the earliest Africans were held as slaves, but some individuals became free. Man, this shit just pisses me off, man. Cause it don't make no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. So let's continue. Everyone is a healer. As the sun enters a crab in the Shuba, the fixed stars of Scorpio, these stars are trying to get you. So these stars have the nature of Saturn and Mars. Saturn is the planet of order. Mars is the planet of action. We tend to put Mars in front of Saturn. We tend to do whatever we want to do, and then try to figure it out after we do what we want to do. After we done fucked up some shit, now it's like, all right, let's try to balance this shit out. The idea of Akrab and Dashuba is to get grounded in your family and your ancestors, because the Scorpio represents the womb of your ancestors, the womb of your old lady, the womb of your grandmama, the womb of your mama, which is the portal for ancestors. Now, we get too high in our britches. We get too high in our personal decision and choices as if we created ourselves. I came slip sliding up out of some pussy. You feel what I'm saying? So in that reality, you got to give respect where respect is due. So to be ordered into your family, to be ordered into your ancestors, is to figure it out. Some of y'all have been fucking all silly and wild, and it's like, well, what about the daddy's ancestors? He was cute. He was a sexy ass dude. What did you say? But his ancestor, we got to figure out his ancestral for little tink ass. I don't know his ancestors. I don't know his last name. He was cute. He was sexy. And he sent me this picture in the DMs and it was on and popping. See, these types of energies coming into Scorpio gonna have you all fucked up. Because instead of the facts that the world is operating on familial ties and things of that nature, Black people get our rocks off on destroying familial ties. Scorpio coming out of the 7th house of relationships, moving into the 8th house of alchemy is very important. So for the womb, for men would be, what would the womb be for men? What is a man's portal? That would be his third eye. That would be his moon, which would be the upper to a woman's lower, which would be her actual vaginal entryway. So if a man can receive divine intelligence from his divine source and act accordingly, act orderly in reference to his divine ancestors and how they lead him, he will be successful. He got to deal with his emotions and things of that nature. However, that's what a man receives: intel, insight. Women, however, receive phallically, sexually. Now, the spiritual community, I noticed it with every single woman online for the most part, they skip over sexual relationships. That's inconsequential to their spiritual development. They can take any size that's out there and still show up the same way. In reality, it don't necessarily work like that on a human level, let alone hormonally or energetically. Because what will tend to happen is that you will come across a righteous man. But since you can't provide that righteous man with positive energy, he is going to do his alchemy in his 8th house and exercise you out of his life. This is why we need to actually heal ourselves and stop using these damn men as stress relievers. Because since these men will fuck you from Sunday to Sunday, these men gonna fuck you from Sunday to Sunday. They don't have no problem fucking you. Growing up, y'all was the gateway to a man having sex, because women could be like it was weird. You like we all know growing up, that wasn't necessarily the thing. But since the music has been hypnotizing us and slowly seducing us into a reality that is becoming destructive, we now need some form of healing. The Five of Cups speaks specifically to acting as a healer to that wounded part of yourself, which is centered in the sexual areas for women and the ability to tune into your higher self for men. See, if we can't tune in and tap into our higher self, we wasting time down here. And the reason we don't know it's wasting time because people will congratulate you if you come through with that new bubble eye Benz on 20-inch rims down the street. Women will give you all the draws. Everybody will give you all the respect, and we'll never think, hey, is there anything more to life than just bubble eye Benzes and 20-inch rims? What is more to life than the deeper level that, like, none of the black people, none of the black conscious creators with thousands of views and thousands of subscribers is talking about connecting to your higher self. They mainly talking about how black women is your problem, how black men is your problem. It's a gender war for which people is all feeling like, well, shit, this is the reason why I'm not successful in relationships, because black men ain't shit. Or even worse, this is the reason why I ain't successful in relationship, because black women ain't shit. Meaning, while you slid through a whole black woman pussy hole to even exist. That's the crazy part. But it always talks about first generation and second generation, because you birth a male child, that male child, based upon whatever he dealing with, his emotional sphere, he think he better than his mama. When in fact, he might have to heal his mom. You ever think about that? But you can't heal nobody till you heal yourself. And this is why men have to be receptive to the divine and lead from a divine perspective. You gotta trust the divine plan. See, trusting the divine is much different than fearing a nigga gonna shoot you and some shit like that. You move different, you think different, you act different, you prepare different, you love different. To know that you're gonna die versus fearing how you going to die, you might fuck up if you let fear. But to know, you treat every moment like, man, the reality is that this could be the last day that I'm alive. So what is the impact that I'm going to leave on this person's psyche? Am I going to talk shit about this black man because I'm down here in the matrix? Or am I going to spread love and awareness to this black man? Because if I don't do it today, and I transcend, it might not ever be another black man to ever breathe life into this black man again. Never breathe life into this black child again. Because at the same time, I don't never hear people about connecting to your higher self as a technique, as a rule, as a way. Because it's not something that you just going to do, right? You can't just build a house in a day. You're going to have to take some time and figure out what you need. Also saying that I've been going the wrong way, living in the wrong direction. How do I redirect myself? You always redirect yourself to your source, but what is your source? Your source is healing. And you can fuck up your healing by not eating right, taking care of yourself, so forth and so on. Or, right, you can boost your immunity, tune in and tap into the foods that your body like, and exercise regularly. And you might get cut and your body is just naturally healing that, and it might heal it much faster. It's sometimes, people, once you study hormones and stuff like this, you can really see who really fucked up on the inside, right? You start looking at them, they skin all acneed up, they face all pale, and they'll be at work acting like everything is cool. And you be like, nigga, I see you. I see that acne on your face. I see you look like you suffocating on the inside. See, because since you got this natural healing ability to keep your face clear and that, when you stress, you producing these hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline. So the natural healing things, which will keep your face clear, is being spent on running from a bear. But what's the reality, family? What do I love to say? There is no bear. There is no boogeyman. You naturally heal yourself. If you was to cut yourself, your body is going to bleed, clot, and heal. And bring it back to normal. Bring it back to new. But you gotta relax. You can't keep picking at the scab, i.e. your baby daddy, i.e. Jermaine's bitch ass. Stop picking at the scab. Let that nigga go. Mars will be transiting in the sign of Sidereal Libra. It will be actually perfectly conjunct. I had to zoom in super close to get this actual picture of both Mars and its fixed star, Zubin Elgin Nubi, which would be the alpha star of Libra. They say one star is a good star, one is a bad star. Who knows? It's just like, is the left side more better than the right side, or the right? It just depends. But looking at it cosmologically, this is, so what does the story mean cosmologically of Anubis? Since you'll never have a planet that'll flip off the ecliptic and fix this star, this would be kind of the more faint star. So this side of the scale is the feather. This is the cosmic balance. This side will always be weighted by a planet. So since it's the sun, your ability to express and be a natural expression without regrets and negative energy is going to balance. So if you're holding yourself back from expression, I'm supposed to be this person, but I'm not standing on that shit, that's going to bring you out of balance. And now Libra is a fucked up planet. Everybody who been talking shit about astrology, talking shit about their life, is really just letting you know that they out of balance somewhere internally. Because the idea is to be light of a feather. What's the mythology and cosmology related to that? Energy is never destroyed. Nor is it created. It gets transferred from one thing to another. So if you're not ready to understand this, you got to tap into your inner trickster. You got to figure out, what did we talk about last week? The power of laughter. At the most grotesque of things, because even if it is bullshit, even if it's the most horrible news, you still didn't take that Atlantean out of his Atlanteanship. You can only take him out of the fake body, right? The illusionary body, which would align more to his truth. So from that point, it's actually a good thing. From a human perspective, we can't handle that. So the only thing we can do is have a cheery disposition about everything. Don't pick and choose your cherry disposition. And that's more or less the sun. But Mars conjunct Libra would be acting in an intuitive way in referencing your electromagnetic energy, which would be you tuning into source, then deciding how to move. What's the issue? We move how we want to move. Either we don't know that source exists, or we know that source exists and we don't give a fuck about source sometimes. And that's what make a person bad, when the right thing is available and you just choose to do the clicky shit. So let's look at this symbol, because it just breaks it down for us in full detail. At one level, you have the source of all creation, and no circle, like the sun has a dot in there representing you being trapped. Mars is you expressing what the soul energy is. But the reality is that if you don't know what the soul energy is through meditation, through contemplation, through visualization, through hypnosis, through developing the inner world, through shadow work, through raising your chakras and fully getting in tune with your higher self, you acting out this arrow. And when you run into a wall and it hurt, you act like it's the wall's fault. It's the wall's fault. Am I lying? Everything that happens to y'all is somebody else's problem. Somebody else did it to you. This arrow not connected to source is what we call lack of accountability. Mars, women with Mars dominant energy, they'll fuck everybody. And then they want to be a relationship and don't tell you the people that they fucked. On the flip side, you know, when dudes get into a relationship, yeah, I fucked her, 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 I fucked her. The girl around the corner, I fucked her. You need to know this. You need to know my skeletons, because it's going to come back to you. We going to be at the goddamn grocery store and I'm going to see Charmaine's ass. And if I ain't tell you, it's going to be a problem. So yes, I fuck Charmaine. Now that I'm in the source of it all, I can't act like that, you know. You live and you learn, basically. Shout out to Charmaine. Let's read a little bit. The most well-known field around us is our auric field. Many believe that our auric field is the same as our electromagnetic field, a continually emerging and fluctuating field of energy. Listen to this, family, and trust me, I like to say this to my melanated people. I'm going to start saying this more and more. When you hear stuff in the world and you read little memes, stop thinking that it skip over you. Understand that it's specifically for you, because a lot of these people deaf, dumb, and blind. They don't know awakening from a goddamn hole in the wall, okay? So understand this. Because the electrical currents in your body is related to your soul. Your soul is related to your answers and your directions and your inner architectural blueprint, for which is specific for you to follow to get your highest optimal results. Meaning that if you listen to everything I told you to do down to a T, but your higher self had something different to a B, and you did what I did to a T, you will be sitting there confused. So when you pay a person $1,000 to teach you or to coach you, and you don't get the results you need, it's not because of them, it's because you need to figure out the fact that you are God. And if a person ain't trying to teach you that shit, they leading you astray. Because when it comes to the electrical currents in your body, can't nobody teach you no shit like that. Think about that. Give me a thumbs up if you feel like a person, like if you agree with that statement. Can somebody teach you about the electrical currents within your body, or do you need to tune in to the electrical currents in your body? Is that the work? Every cell in your body pulses with electricity. Every cell and organ. Our entire body generates an energy field. So boom. Instead of being this arrow and being self-directed by your choices and decisions, and I think that I should do this, I think that I should do that, and crash, crash, crash. Why won't you tune into your electromagnetic energy, which is your natural healing energy, through meditation, through visualization? And I'm so tired of y'all telling me how y'all don't like to do meditations. You don't like to sit still, to the point that you could tell yourself, I don't like to sit still. And what's the next point that people say? I don't need to sit still. That's like saying I don't need to move my feet back and forth fast to run. See, I don't run with my feet moving fast. I can move my feet in front of each other real slow and still be running, hood. I'm the exception to the rule. Listen, sit your ass down, because the problem is you think you know everything, this arrow, and you refuse to tune into yourself through meditation. And the beautiful part of meditation is if you can relax for a second and tune in and tap into your electric magnetic energy. One of the key things that I tell people about meditation, I said this earlier, I say a lot of shit. So sometimes I gotta repeat shit, because sometimes people don't hear the shit that I say. So the easiest form of meditation is to understand that you got this skin suit on. And to get in tune with your source is to take the skin suit off. So you visualize, you sit down in a comfortable spot, and then you unzip your skin suit and reveal your alien or light source or electromagnetic body. And you just tune into that, because meditation is, you just bringing your conscious energy to what is already happening. Your life, fam, is an electrical magnetic stimulation. That once this electromagnetic stimulation is not beating your heart, activating your brain, it's somewhere else. And I say that all to say that motherfuckers is stressed out and not even tuning in and tapping in. They going crazier and crazier with the stress. Right? The main stress hormones. I got an article. I got an article for that in the mystery schools. Search for Frazzled if you haven't read that yet. Read the Frazzled article because it talks about adrenaline, norepinephrine, and cortisol, and how this combination of these three hormones fuck us up. So cortisol is a good thing because it returns our body to normal, but if we producing cortisol all the time, our body is never returning to normal. Our stress, let me rephrase that. Stress is our normal state, and we think that our normal stress state is some normal shit. How you doing? I'm fine. I'm good. You ain't good. You stressed the fuck out. Stop saying that. And I know you ain't about to tell nobody how stressed you is because you want everybody to think you got your shit together. So go ahead, go to the ColumbianExchange.com. Link is in the description, I hope. Email me if you don't see the link. Colombian Exchange with an X. Get you some ashwagandha, however you pronounce it, some valerian root, some passion flower, some chamomile. Drink this tea every day. This chamomile, boy, in the morning, you be feeling so good off the chamomile, ashwagandha, and passion flower. Why you feel so good? Because your adrenaline is at bay, your cortisol is at bay. You not in the stress mode. And if you ain't going to be saying, all right, this is the bullshit, and this ain't going to never happen. I wish I can stop being stressed out all the time. Go ahead and do that all day and see if that helps. Let me watch a video about reducing stress. What conscious nigga is talking about reducing stress? You know why conscious niggas don't talk about reducing stress? Because they stress the fuck out too. Ashwagandha, valerian root, passion flower, chamomile. Get these herbs and more at the ColumbianExchange.com. This is how we feed our kids, family. So don't knock it until you try it. And if you bought herbs 5 months ago, that don't count. I'm gonna need you to start over. Because the idea with herbs is consistency. And don't worry about it. I ain't gonna force you to get no herbs from me. I'm gonna just constantly let you know. If I'm consistently doing something and getting results from being consistent in the application, I can only share it. The reality of me and the other things I talk about is that I don't know no goddamn microwave. I'm trying to hit the gym every day for a year before I start talking about results. I hear motherfuckers talking about, yeah, I lost 40 pounds in 40 days. And I'm like, ain't no way that that's healthy. To the point of, we was talking about this, well, I just seen this meme, and they were talking about how diets are restrictive more or less than just eating naturally and having a normal exercise routine. And just eat based upon the season and things of that nature, as opposed to restricting your diet and then, oh yeah, you lost 40 pounds, but then you gained 50, right? We got a waning moon. So if you know me, you know my favorite moon phase is the waning moon, because it's time to release the bullshit, release the baggage. And of course, we got the moon waning in an air sign. This air sign is Gemini, so it deals mostly with some crazy mental ass thoughts. And the thing that I try to bring to the surface with people, this goes in one ear out the other. If you got negative energy within you, you gotta let it rise to the surface. As opposed to keep suppressing it and keeping it within you. Let it rise to the surface and release it through journaling. You'll feel a million times better. What's going to happen is that you're going to feel like shit. It's going to rise to the surface. You're going to get drunk. You're going to eat. You're going to smoke weed. You're going to smoke crack. Whatever the hell you do to run away from your problems and escape the actual world. And you're not escaping the world per se. You're escaping the inner world. And the irony, what's the irony to this? The inner world is where all your magic take place. So imagine smoking weed, getting high, running from your inner world, and here it is, this is your modality to heal yourself. This is why when people drink and smoke and do this shit ad nauseum, they start to look crazy. Because your natural healing energies is not activating because you don't rest and relax and allow your electromagnetic energy to do its thing. I wake up into so many miracles. I do so much magic by understanding my inner world, burning herbs and things of that nature, balancing my hormones, drinking tea, very simple stuff. I don't have to alter my lifestyle, but it pays the dividends and it pays the bills. Keep it real. I'm saying to have a sound mind, to be a mind that is not conflicted, where a conflicted mind is trying to figure out the matrix. A simple mind is to know that if the moon is in Gemini, Gemini has one specific message, and that is the lovers. If you see the lovers, you also see this Gemini glyph, really just uniting both sides. So you have the physical, the non-physical, the feminine, the masculine. They all represent in oneness. And then you have your higher self, you have your guardian angels, and you have your guides. When you unite all of these energies, you have your animal self, you have your ancestors. All of these things represent the mortal world. It's even broken. It even is an M, right? To love all of this, to love your dark side, to love your light side, to love your feminine, to love your masculine, to love your seen, to love your unseen, to love your higher self, to love your guardian angel, to love your guides, is a space where mental anguish can't exist. Because there's so much inner work to be done that I guess motherfuckers just know that motherfuckers ain't going to ever fucking deal with it. And that's why these cards exist the way that they exist. When you examine the 3 decans of Libra, it's broken down into these three cards. Ain't this some crazy shit? And if I said Libra, I meant to say Gemini. The 3 decans of Gemini. First decan is the 8 of Swords. The second decan is the 9 of Swords. The third decan is the 10 of Swords. Right? The 8 of Swords speaks to interference. Where this could be viewed as a negative card, but essentially this is to get you into a space that you can figure out what it is you need to find within yourself that's going to free you or save your ass. Let's do this. Let's do this. Take notes if you haven't. If you bring forth, this is for y'all being lazy for no fucking reason. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth that what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. It's either or at this point. You have something within you that will save you. If you don't bring it forth, it will destroy you. So when you look at these first decans of the week, when Mars is when the moon is entering Gemini, If you trying to go so forward and so fast and you just think you know without checking in with your soul, without loving these aspects of yourself, it's going to seem like you blocked. But being blocked is also a time for you to go within yourself to figure it out. This is what it means when it says Gemini's first deacon is ruled by Mercury and sub ruled by Mercury. You got Mercury on top of Mercury on top of Mercury, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So what is all of this saying? Go within yourself, right? Figure out the idea that you need to cultivate within yourself. And this could be through research. This could be through working out a problem, studying a book, figuring some shit out. But this, what you figuring out is within yourself. So if you still trying to figure it out externally, you're going to be kind of confused of the energy. Ruled by Mercury, sub-ruled by Mercury. It's the moon, it's subconscious beliefs. I'm talking heavy hypnosis, heavy mind control on you controlling and predicting your future by tuning into yourself. I know you can do it. The second deacon, the Nine of Swords. This feeling right here can be resolved. If you feel like this throughout the week, that's when you pull out the notebook. Because this is a bad thing, family. No, just the negative energies that you had in the recesses of your soul is coming to the surface. Once they come to the surface, you can release these things by journaling. What's going to happen? You're going to get high. You're going to get drunk. You're going to start arguing with your baby daddy over some shit that he did 2 years ago, as this energy is rising to the surface to be released. You can't hold things against somebody and still be like, let me suck your dick in the morning. You want to suck his dick, but you still hold resentment towards him. And then when this resentment comes up, you want to argue with him and then hope he fuck you after the argument. And none of y'all is looking at this as being toxic. Because nobody is journaling. Everybody playing volleyball with their negative thoughts. And this is creating this energy. Stop playing volleyball. Stop playing tetherball and learn to release. And releasing is not arguing with your baby dad. Releasing is not arguing with your father, because your father was a rolling stone. Wherever he lay, his hat was his home. Type energy. The Ten of Disc. Being completely dead to the world. If you completely dead to the world, you awaken to your soul. And your soul is your ability to heal yourself and others. What do we say? If you bring forth that is within you, what you bring forth will save you. That's the major key. Because a lot of it is frustration energy. A lot of it is feeling like you being held back. And the reality is that you will feel like you being held back if there is crucial energies that is within you that need to come to the surface. And if you are moving in a direction which is wrong, the energies will let you know. And if you do the proper journaling work, you will create a different outlook. Because you know what the next card is out of Gemini? It's the Two of Cups. What does the Two of Cups represent? Once you do this inner work, what comes up after this? Let's look at it. The Two of Cups, predictive tarot meaning. Soulmates, love, couples, friendships, sympathy, union, harmony, positive, true love, soulmate, good friendships, feeling share, happy relationships, mutual feelings, because you found this energy within yourself and you can easily share this with somebody, and you'll have the discernment to see, okay, boom, and that same higher self that existed in Gemini, right, exists in the Two of Cups, because it's saying, we want you to be in a happy, successful relationship, but your ass gonna have to do the work. And the reality is that you could already be in a relationship, but it's not a happy, blissful occurrence, because you're not happy and blissful within yourself. You thinking that your partner is going to bring you your bliss, and it don't work like that. So our final, ooh, our final aspect that we'll be talking about this week is the fix. No, I'm sorry, not the fix. Our social planet Saturn, trining the asteroid Chiron, the sign of wounded healer, and it's a sextile. A sextile represents an opportunity that requires effort, but if we put effort behind this opportunity, we could actually activate our healing capabilities. And a deeper aspect is that these healing capabilities, for the most part, are already activated to some level. But if you cut yourself open and your body will naturally heal itself, your healing doesn't stop at cutting yourself. There is some real live womb trauma that needs to be healed. There is some real live mental trauma that needs to be healed. And there are some real shit that we're going through. And you might think that you need to deal with a psychologist, a therapist, a cool nigga on YouTube, however it works out. You feel me? The reality, though, is that that person must instruct you to connect to your higher self. This is Saturn and Capricorn. And trust me, we got a whole way to go in this energy. We just now getting settled in this energy. So this energy is very much of us connecting to our higher self. But it just so happens that connecting to our higher selves creates the opportunity to heal ourselves. And we look at the places that we were wounded for the healing. Why? Because how can you heal something that's never been wounded? This is the power of cosmology, right? This is the resurrective awakening force of your spiritual energy. You do not look at your wounds as things that are just going to be forever negative. You access this energy, you access this spirituality to look at the parts where you were broken. Okay? The parts where you were torn apart and shredded to nothing. And you look at your higher self, you look at your electric magnetic energy, and you look at it healing those broken parts of you. I've been so broken, I shouldn't be here talking to y'all, family. This is the facts. I've been broken, chewed up, spit out. And the reason why is so my spirit can clearly illustrate to me. It's not that I'm saying it out of conjecture. I'm saying it out of experience. Energy cannot be destroyed, nor can it be created. Who I was have always been. I just was not connected to it. The idea of Saturn connected to your higher self, you need to start feeling good about this shit. Because you are going to be able to save your fucking self, and ain't nothing better than that. Because a lot of times you will tune on to the internet and they'll tell you $59.99 for this healing that I got. Right? I don't got that. But what I can say is if you take your chakra work seriously, if you understand your chakra work, you balance out your human everyday affairs, what you left with is a streamlined connection to your higher self, which would be the same energy as the Two of Cups. See the angel of this is the love that you channel and alchemize within yourself. Because once again, you ain't just gonna heal yourself. This how you know you healed, when you ready to relate to other people. You ready to, man, I feel the love that's building up. Because I feel people really ready to do this work. And I guarantee you, honestly, doing this work is not going to leave you lonely in your relationships. It's going to create the harmony that you need. It's going to create the energy to say, okay, this is how you do it. This is how you build it. This is how it works, right? Because I know how it don't work, and that's okay. But because I have a soul, because I have a higher self, let's look at this even deeper. I'm able to heal myself. And that's the beauty of it. That's the work of it. We don't want to sit here and imagine that it is what it is and all woe is me and there's nothing that I can do. I've made decisions in the past and I fucked up my life and all these particular lies that we tell ourselves. If you got electromagnetic energy coursing through your veins, every cell, every organ, every thought, your soul is alive and well, and I'm just hoping that you connect with it and you unite your differences. Don't let your differences bring you into a place where you exist in a vacuum, because that's not even true. The reality is that we all are different. This is the symbolism of the black woman and the white male, united, hand in hand. Once again, it's not talking about people. This is all esoterical, metaphysical. The black representing the non-physical womb of chaos, the white representing the patriarchal physical nature, but the unity or the Martian nature of it is the fact that you have all of this weird shit going within you, all of this uniting that needs to take place, all of this alchemy that needs to take place. But when you show up, it's going to show up as a powerful individual that's ready to make changes. I believe this in you. I see this in all of y'all all the fucking time. I always see this in y'all. I just need y'all to really begin to see it within yourself. I really need you to understand that if I say everyone is a healer, y'all bear witness to me saying this. Everyone is a healer. I'm not skipping you. If I say everyone is a healer, I'm including you in that list. Okay? Do not cheat yourself, treat yourself. Chakra Nova is available. You can buy it now, but I say go to Columbian Exchange. I'm sending out promo codes real soon, so be patient with me. Sending out a crazy promo code so you can get Chakra Nova in your living room so all your kids can read it, things of that nature. Go ahead and get Womb. It's about to be holiday season. Get the gift that keeps on giving. Get the significant other in your life a journal so she can understand her emotions, right? Because a lot of y'all be having kids, and the reality of ovulation should completely avoid that reality for y'all. But if y'all don't want to understand and track y'all cycles and not know when y'all ovulating and, you know, shoot the club up and then have another baby on top of the babies you already got, keep going how you going. But if you want to redirect this energy, understand your cycle, or your wife can understand her cycle, your daughter can understand. I know you don't want your daughter coming home with no babies. So go ahead get this for your daughter, because you know she fast. She out here in these streets. Y'all know how your daughters give it up. ColumbianExchange.com, though, will solve all of those problems. This has been a wonderful edition of the weekly Astro Report. Get your ass over to the Mystery School, read the article in full detail, watch this video, take notes, understand this energy for which is taking place, because I'm going to say this one time and one time only. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. Okay? And that's on Mary and her little